Hello everyone, it is April 14th. I know I'm doing another video on the same day. It's a miracle. But as I was saying in my last video, I have all this unglazed pottery from where I teach. Seems like I have time to make it, but I never have time to actually glaze it. Probably because you can throw a lot on the wheel pretty quick, but glazing it takes more time. So anyway, I've got all this stuff to glaze, and so yeah, there'll be some glazing videos coming up. And this one's gonna be purple flowers. This is what we're doing today. So now you can see what it looks like. Well, everybody always says I don't know what the final thing looks like. And I do eventually post them, but sometimes it takes a while. But anyway, so that's what we are going to do. It'll look exactly like that. I hope you all are doing well. The sun just came out here. It's a beautiful day here. My son's dying to get outside, but I said, I've got to do some work. I've got to make some videos. Well, I don't have to make the videos. I have to glaze some pottery. And it's always nice to do some videos. Oh, look at my garbage bags hanging here. I have to hang it up over here because the kitty cats get in it if it's on the floor. They love to get into bags. I don't know. Every time I go to the grocery store, the first thing to do is they hop in all the bags. Anyway, so we are going to be doing underglazes. Now this is, I should do a whole process, but to do a video from the process from the beginning to the end, it takes a lot of video editing, and I'm not that great at that. But anyway, so this is standard 266, and it fires like this. So this is what it looks like when it's bisque fired, and this is what it looks like when it's cone 5 fired. This is probably cone 05 or 04. And then while it's at the, right before the leather heart stage, I paint a white slip on it. And that's how you get that two-tone. See that? So, and the slip is, you can use any slip as long as it's still cone 5, cone 5-6, because you want the shrinkage to be pretty much the same as the clay you're putting it on. Now, I just go to my local supply store, Queen City Clay, and sometimes I go to Core Clay too. They're wonderful. But I just tell them I want a gallon of white slip. Sometimes it's porcelain or just a white, basic slip. But as long as it's, like I said, it's cone 5-6, that's fine with me. And then anyway, what's nice about when you buy it is it's already so mixed up, and you don't have to run it through a sieve 100 times and get all the chunks out and stuff. It's already done for you, and it's not very expensive. But you can make your own. Anyway, so once it's at the leather heart stage, then I paint this white slip on here, and then I fire to cone 05. So I like to paint on bisque-ware. A lot of people paint their underglazes on greenware, and that's fine too. I like it on bisque-ware because I can tell better what color it's going to be. And if I make a mistake, for me, it's easier to wipe it off. I can, like one of my bowls, I painted a bunch of fish on the bottom. And then when I went back with the black liner, like I like to do, it just didn't look good. I don't know. And I don't usually do that, but I took it in the sink. I just washed the whole thing off and started over. So you couldn't do that if it was greenware. So I like to paint on bisque-ware. And once I paint on the bisque-ware and the underglaze is dry, the design is dry that I've painted on here, I will immediately put a zinc-free clear over the top. Like I said, once the underglaze is dry, then it gets a zinc-free clear, and then I fire to cone 5, usually with a 10-minute hold or so. And I use Amaco Velvets. for the most part. Some of these are speedball, but Amaco Velvets don't seem to stick to the bottom of the kiln shelf as much. But I know Speedball changed their formula, so I'm not very familiar with the new Speedballs. I know people who use them who, love them. I just haven't, tried them that much because once you get used to one, it's kind of hard to. I've never had these Amaco Velvets bubble. Well, there was at one time, but I'm not sure what happened with that. I tried to get it to happen again and it didn't. I made 25 little bowls, and I put white underglaze on the inside, and they all bubbled for some reason. But I think that was their ultra white. It's not one that I buy anymore. Anyway, I have not had that happen since, but we'll see. Anyway, let me lower you down, because by now you're getting bored and probably want me to stop talking. So here's my underglaze tray. I always show everybody this because everybody always asks me. This is how I like to paint. I put my colors in dark to light, like a color wheel. Some of these colors are ones that I've made. Some are right out of the jar. These oranges are custom made. This one is custom made, which is almost gone, and this one is. And the brown I've made myself. But anyway, and I just buy a bead box from Amazon. You just have to make sure when you buy the bead box from Amazon that it has unadjustable dividers so that the underglaze does not leak out from underneath. When I first bought these, I used to glue them all in, and then I realized someone said, Lisa, buy ones with the dividers already attached, and I didn't know they did that. But yeah, so just make sure they're unadjustable dividers, and you'll be fine. So like I said, I like to put my underglazes in here, and I like when they get a little bit hard because they're more concentrated. If they get a little too hard, I just add a little bit of water and stick them, stir them up. Yeah, so, and these, I like I said, I like that they dry out a little bit because they become more concentrated. And if you've ever, and they're very similar to the semi-moist glazes that Amaco sells that are very expensive. I think they're very expensive. But I mean, it makes sense because they're more concentrated, and the pigment is the expensive part. So just gonna stir these up a little bit. And sometimes, I do get drops in the other colors, but it doesn't really matter. It's not enough to change the color usually. Although one thing I do find that I have to be careful with this blue, this royal blue from, that's a speedball color. It is very bright. And if I drop that in one of my yellows, it's okay if it happens once or twice, but after a while, the yellow starts looking a little green. So I do have to be careful with that. So let me give these a little stir. Wake them up a little bit. It's funny, this purple here, when it starts drying out, sometimes if I know I'm not going to come back to this for a few months, because I usually work in shifts where I make everything and I fire it, then I go to the glazing period, and that takes me, a week or so. But then once I'm done glazing and I'm firing and making again, then I may not be back to these underglazes for a couple months. I'll just give them a little spray of water before I close the lid. And I've never had them dry out all the way. But like I said, and even if you did, you could just add a little bit of water to them. Not a big deal. This is chartreuse here. You really can't. This one I wish would dry out a little bit more. It's kind of watery. I don't know why. It's supposed to be like a lime green. Let me stir this here. wake these up a little. See, I got a little bit in the green there. But all I gotta do is take one little swipe of this blue, put it in the green with the yellow, and that'll keep my dark green there. In fact, I might add just a little bit more, because I use that for my leaves a lot, and I don't want it to be too light, because it will not show up on that dark clay. Okay, let's get painting. Okay, so I'm going to do basically 3 purple flowers here, and they're going to have yellow centers. So I'm going to put my yellow centers in here so I know where the flowers are going. And this yellow is usually a little bit brighter. Or is it this one? This one is the one. I had to add some bleach to it because, oh my gosh, the mold was so bad. And when I opened up the jar was half black because of all the mold. So if that ever happens to you, just add like a teaspoon of bleach to your jar. So first I want to get my petals on here. It's been so warm around here lately. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio, and gosh, it's so nice to have the windows open. We live kind of close to the road, though, so we do get a lot of road traffic. I did sponge this bowl off before I turned the video on. I don't ever really sketch mine out. I just kind of go by the seat of my pants here, because I'm really, I think I'm just mostly right-brained. I am not good with like trying to keep tabs of my business expenses and stuff. When it comes time to file taxes, you know, I'm one of those people where I just throw all my receipts in a box and hope that I've got them all, and I always say I'm going to do better next year, and I never do. So my main goal here is just getting these on the bowl so I can see the composition of them. And that's why I put the yellow dots first. That kind of gives me a guide of where the flower's going to go. Now, a lot of people say, you know, how many coats do you put on? I don't count coats. I just put as much on until it gets me the color that I'm looking for. You know, but basically 3 coats will kind of ensure that you're going to get the color you want. It's not going to burn out. but you know, I kind of paint with a little bit of a watercolor effect. So, so yeah, some colors are going to burn out a little bit. So I've got now, this one was purple. This I believe is violet. And I'm going to add this to this little lid that I saved. I can tell my allergies are kicking in. Get all the doors and windows open and all that dust is coming in. Plus we live near an airport. I mean, well, it's over in Kentucky. I live in Ohio, but they all go right over my house. And the way the crow flies, we're probably only, 5 miles or something, which is nothing for an airport. So we get a lot of airport noise and a lot of airport pollution. So yeah, so how it affects my allergies. Anyway, okay, so I put the purple down, and like I said, that's kind of a flat color. I don't want it all one color, obviously. So I'm going to go back with a little bit of violet, with a little bit of white mixed in. Let me show you. Here, see how I just got mixed in? So that way, when I put it on my brush, I have darks and lights. And, a lot of times I do have some of this burnout. But a lot of times I don't. Now if I'm painting, and I have any chunks, you know how you can get chunks of underglaze and you rub on the surface, you can feel it. Wait till it's dry and then just rub those off, because you don't want those chunks of underglaze on there. When you go to clear, the clear will absorb that, and then you'll have a flat spot. It'll poke through your clear that you've applied on there. Alrighty. I think the last video I did, I had the kitty cats, the girls, call them the girls, were really interested in what was going on, and they were in the last video, but I think there must be some birds outside that they are more interested in. So I actually might be able to make a video without their tails in my face. So I'm going back and just adding a little bit of white to the tips here. Don't want to add too much white, because obviously that'll mix in with the white background. But like I said, I know how when you put on these thin layers, sometimes they do burn out a little bit. There's I watched some of these other, some of these people some of these other potters who use underglaze and make videos. And I think one thing to note is some of those, their colors turn out beautiful. But a lot of those people are probably they're probably low firing. You don't have to worry about, your colors are going to be much more vibrant if you're firing to a lower cone. Like I said, I fired a cone 5, and with the hold it probably goes to 5.5. So the higher you go with these, the more you're going to have it burn out. more chance of, you know, the colors burning out. Okay. Now I'm getting into some of this, a little bit the darker colors and kind of, can you see how that kind of add the darker color down by the bottom, down by the center of the flower? I wish they did fire exactly how I painted them, but I know they won't. And you know, sometimes I've thought about just doing low fire, but I just don't like the low fire clay. I don't know. I don't think it vitrifies all the way, which means for me it doesn't seem as sturdy. This is probably just me, but I have bought bakeware and things before that are low fire, and I'm sure you can tell the difference because when you pick it up it's so lightweight. But I've had problems with them, the clear glaze on there cracking, like crackling, and then bacteria gets in there and you see this like spidery effect, like spider veins effect of the black, I guess, bacteria that gets in there, and I don't like that. Okay, so now I'm going to put the green petals on here. Some green leaves, and this is avocado green. You can tell I did add a little bit of blue to it before. And I will go over these again. You can see that. So sometimes it's easier to go ahead and get the first coat on, let it dry, and just come back. Because otherwise you end up just pushing that color around rather than actually adding layers to it. Yeah, so I'll probably be having a sale at my house to try to sell some of this stuff. And I am going to put some more on Etsy. I have an Etsy shop. I'm trying to set up a shop on Instagram, but that's not as easy as you might think. Okay, I'm gonna go back now and add this second layer. Sometimes the green can burn brown, but I have not had that happen lately. And these brushes are just old brushes I bought at Hobby Lobby. These are horsehair brushes. I really don't. I like the white bristle brushes a little bit better. like that, only because the bristles don't fall out like the horsehair ones. These horsehair ones, when they get old, you're constantly picking the hair out of your glaze. Okay, let's see here. I get talking now, I can't remember which ones I put 2 layers on or not. Okay, and then I'm going to add a little bit of this yellow just to add some, just to add another color to them, a little dimension. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to do the centers. I'm going to add, let's see here. I like using these empty caps, these empty lids for stuff. I'm going to put a little bit of this bright orange in there and a little bit of the yellow. And I think I'm going to put just a little bit of this darker orange. So you can kind of see the colors oranges I'm doing. Alright, now I'm just going to put just some dots in there. And let's see, I think I'll add a little bit of this bright orange. And add some, whoops, I get some of that water out of there. I'm going to go around the outside of the center here and just kind of outline it. And I think I'll come back in the center and add some of the darker, and well, actually might add more yellow. Make sure I get all that water out of my brush. I don't want these watered down. I'm going to get some of this bright yellow here. Add a little bit of that because sometimes when I spray them, when I'm closing it up, I think, oh, I won't be back for a while, and then I do, and then I've added too much water. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of that. I want to be able to see that dark color underneath though. That way, you get some dimension in there. All right. So it doesn't look too exciting yet. All right, now I'm going to take some of this royal blue. I'm going to add a little bit of green. Because I definitely don't want these little flowers to be flat either. And let's see, I'm going to get some of this turquoise out. Got a whole bunch of colors in here. And then I'm going to add some white. Okay. I think first I'm going to add a little bit of this brown. Let me get another tray here. I'm going to put some brown in a dish. Add a little bit of water, because I don't want it real dark. See, so it's just kind of runny there. Okay. Got itch. Okay, and now I get one of my pretty fine brush here. You notice I painted these all green because I took them to work to share. We had a nursing home come in, and we didn't have enough brushes for all of them. And so I brought some of mine in. I didn't want them to get mixed up with ours at work, because ours at work are kind of falling apart. Okay, so now the brown will burn out too, so you got to kind of be careful not to water it down too much. Okay, now let's put some color on here. Definitely gonna add a little bit more white to that blue. That blue is, like I said, it is a bright blue. Okay. I think I'm gonna add a little bit more turquoise. I'm just gonna dab on little dots here. I might use a thinner brush. We'll see. Let's see if this keeps a thinner tip. This video is going to probably go kind of long because I still have to outline this with my trusty Zyme applicator thing. So I'm kind of just trying to, you know, grab color from all over here in my paint palette so that all the colors are not the same. Kind of reminds me when I'm painting my I think they're called globe amaranths. They're kind of like baby hydrangeas. No, not hydrangeas. Hibiscus. No, I can't think. There we go. All right, that looks pretty. I don't know if you can see all the variations in color, but let's see here. There you go, you can kind of see it. over here. My husband just came home with, he was out to lunch with some friends, and my son's like, Mom's making a video. Try to keep things, it's hard to keep things quiet when you're making a video, and usually my neighbors are, usually as soon as I start making a video, my neighbors decide they want to cut the grass or something. But, you know, it is what it is, right? That's my favorite saying, I think. It is what it is, because there's things in this world you can't change, and you just have to kind of go with it. Okay. I think I got those done. I think they'll fire really pretty. Okay. Can you see that? Okay, now on the outside, so I'm gonna, I see a couple chunks in here. I'm gonna rub them out. I don't want any chunks. I'm gonna carefully turn this over. And then I'm going to paint some leaves on the outside here. I think I'm going to add a little bit more green. The leaves are a little bluer than what I want, because I had that royal blue in there, which is really strong. And I think I'll actually add a touch of brown. Usually I don't do that, but I might have added too much. Poop. I think what I'll do is add a little bit of the chartreuse. There we go. There we go. Yeah, I don't know. Not liking that color I got. I think I'll just go right out of the tray here. Add a touch of yellow there. There we go. Yeah. Everybody, I think everybody knows it's always my bowl when they see these leaves. But I'm sure a lot of people put leaves on the outside of their bowls. I can't think of the name of the potter. There's a potter who hand paints very similar to this. She was kind of an inspiration to me years ago. Gosh, now I can't. It's not coming to me, but oh well. She's a very well-known potter. She does low fire though. She does Maiolica. Maiolica is when you have a white glaze over your, I guess I'm trying to think how that, over your dark clay, kind of like this, but mine's just a slip. Anyway, I can see a chunk on there. We don't want the chunks. I'm going to put some leaves on the bottom here. It's always nice to have a little surprise on the bottom. we go. I'm in between pottery sessions now, so I have a little more time to do stuff. But our pottery session starts back up next week, so we go in 10-week sessions. So I'll be 10 weeks where I teach on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I usually load and unload kilns on Monday. So I'm really basically kind of working Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So sometimes it's hard to come home and get back in the studio here when I have done so much there. Okay, so let's slide that away. Put this aside. Now I'm going to get my, hopefully this isn't dried out. So this is what I use. I know a lot of people use a lot of different things. I use the Zyme applicator tube, or applicator bulb, I guess. I use the yellow one, the number 20. These I just ordered off of Amazon. It's backwards, of course, Xeim. But these are so nice because I like them because, look, I put my name on there in case I take it to work. The little smiley face. I like these because you don't have to squeeze it very hard to get the glaze to come out. Sometimes some of the tubes, it seems like, I've bought a zillion different kinds. Let me stick this in here so I don't lose the tip. I lost one of these pins, and I don't know, regular pins don't seem to. I'm going to stick it in this sponge over here. Okay. Always test it first. There we go. I have Amaco Velvet Jet Black Underglaze in here. I add a little bit of water to it. Here is the jar, but it's the jet black one. And I, like I said, I just put it in a jar, put a little bit of water in it, mix it up really well, stick this in there and suck it out, fill this up. If you turn it upside down and it leaks out, then it's too thin. And look at mine. Mine's actually seeping a little bit, so it's on the thin side, which is not good. Hopefully I won't have a problem. I'm going to check it by doing the back side first. The problem is if it's too thin or too thick, then it gums up and you're, there we go. This is not working. Let's see. It's not behaving. Let's, what do I do with that? Here we go. Let's shake it up better. Sometimes when they sit, the underglaze gums up a little bit in the tube, in the tip. I always store mine upside down though, so it doesn't dry out, because you do not want. Okay, I think. Let's try this again. I think that'll work. It's tricky, I'll tell you, to get the right consistency of underglaze in here. And you have to move kind of fast. Okay, so now I see I've got a kind of a droplet over here. I don't want that to run, so I'm going to just suck up the excess. I do not want that to run. See how I've got a little bit of a thick spot there? I just don't want that to run when I turn it over. Okay, so now we'll do the front side. I'm going to hold this in my hand, say a Hail Mary, and go to town. Let's see, where do I start? I think the easiest place would be the petals, right? Just kind of go around and I always think it's kind of magical when you do the black liner on here. It just makes the colors pop. So when you're using these tubes, you want to always be pulling it away, pulling it this way. You don't want to be going this way. You'll shove underglaze up in that nozzle, and then you'll be forever with the pen trying to get the nozzle clean. And like I said, you know, sometimes it works really well and you've got that mixture of underglaze and water perfect, and sometimes you don't, and you fight with it constantly. Sometimes if it gets too bad, I will dump it out, this tube, and I'll run it through a sieve. I always show this. This is my little sieve. See, it's perfect because it fits right down inside of a jar. But it's I bought this through Clayscapes. So number 60. Clayscapes Pottery. Just run your underglaze through the sieve to get the chunks out. If there's, you know, you've dried pieces in there, because you will be forever fighting them. And, you know, just have fun with it. I always have this, I usually always have a sponge or paper towels next to me to try to keep the tip as clean as possible. Okay. Finish up here. And just put some little dots in here. And if you ever see anything that, you know, of mine that you want to buy or, you know, interested in, let me know. Because I used to do a lot of art shows, and I hurt my knee, and it's been, I don't know, it's been tough for me to do them. So now I have all this pottery. I love making it. It's just hard to sell it. My son used to go with me, but he's had some medical issues. So I'm hesitant to, you know, ask him too much. My other son, he helps me too, but he's just so busy, you know. I bought a horse trailer to help me. I thought if I could just load everything in there and then just take that to a show, and it's worked really well. People just love it, but it can be hard backing it up if I'm at a show by myself, because you really don't want to run over people. You don't want to back over anybody else's tent either. Oh gosh. You know, some shows it's easy. You know, you just pull through. You have a big spot, but I went to this one show. Oh my gosh, they hit me in between. They hit me in between two tents. I was like, how do you expect me to get this trailer in between two tents? I said, that's not going to happen. And they're like, oh, well, we didn't realize you had a trailer. I said, well, it's on my application. I paid extra for it. But apparently, you know how those shows are. There's not just one person doing it. It takes a whole team of people to put an art show on. It's not an easy task. And so I guess not everybody was up to par with somebody bringing a horse trailer. So then I had unhooked the trailer from the car. They got a bobcat out, and they hooked up my trailer to the bobcat and pulled it into place. By that time, you know, you got pottery falling out of the boxes and the crates, and it just wasn't a good scenario. So I don't know. So I've had good experiences with it and bad experiences. It's always been good with the selling part, because it never fails, you know. When I do an art show, it's either raining or there's a lot of wind, and it's so nice not to have to worry about the wind in an art show. So there you go. So now I'm going to put a clear glaze over this. So yeah, that's what it'll look like. Now I'm not going to clear the outside. Actually, I might do just this top part. Let's go ahead and put a coat, gently put a coat of clear. I can't wait to get enough stuff to fill the kiln. I'm so excited to see how some of this stuff's going to turn out. go. So I will put 2 coats of clear, and it dries pretty fast. You don't want to put the second one on unless the first one is dry. But it's drying really fast out on the outside here. And again, I use the Amaco #8 fan brush. I'll show it to you. Okay, I'm going to make sure I wipe this foot off. I don't want that clear sticking to the kiln shelf. Alright, I'm going to gently turn this over. I got a couple runs here I'm going to clean up. And then we'll be done. But you can see how fast this underglaze dries. I mean, it doesn't take any time. And so I can even do the inside already. I'm going to make sure there's no bumps. I want a nice smooth coat of clear. And sometimes when you put the first one on, it'll show where you have bumps too. It'll really highlight them. And just pick that bump off, and then put your second coat of clear on. So see, I don't have any smearing at all. I don't, a lot of people say, oh, well, it smears, but I don't want to do an extra firing, and I've never had a smear. There you go. So I will let that dry though, 100%, and then I'll put the second coat on. And that will turn out like that. Now this one doesn't have quite as much orange in it, but it's the same colors, and it'll look almost exactly. It's got, see how it's got that on the back? I didn't put any leaves here though, but anyway. So that's how that will turn out. And I'm going to do another bowl in the next video that looks like this. Anyway, I've started painting my tote. Now these I've just started glazing these with Underglaze. Remember I was making these in the one video? So I haven't I've underglazed them. I haven't clear glazed them yet. So you'll see those come out of the kiln too. But I can't wait. These are all, they're all different things. They're all fun. Like, you can't tell this one's got white and green on it, and this one's got, those are all my little mushrooms. So I got a whole bunch of stuff I'm working on. So we shall see. Let me put my tip back in my underglaze tube before I forget. And I put it back in the container, turn it upside down like that. That tip does not dry out, because if it does, it is hard to get clean. So that is it for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed that video. I've enjoyed making it and getting back in the studio here. I've got it pretty well cleaned up. I hauled a bunch of stuff down to where I work at, because it was getting pretty built up here, because I was going to sell my horse trailer, but now I probably won't. I feel like I'm going to keep it as like a little like a retail shop here in my yard. People can come over and buy stuff out of my little horse trailer / retail shop. So anyway, so if you like this video, subscribe. I don't do a whole lot, so I won't bombard your email account or your email box, whatever. But it's been nice chatting with you, even though it's been one-sided. But you could leave comments. I will try to answer if you have any questions. I'll try to answer them as best I can. I'm not, you know, I don't consider myself a pro. I'm not a, well, I don't know, a production. Oh, I just threw a brush. I'm not a production pot or anything like that, but I've been doing it for many, many years. So, like I said, I'm, you know, not perfect, but I will answer your questions as best as I can. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.